take him as, forget about the Mr. Irrelevant thing, which means that every time he has a performance, we question his talent level. If he was drafted as a high-end prospect instead of Trey Lance last year, and he was in the NFC divisional game and had a poor game, we'd be talking about him as a year 2 quarterback who still has a lot to learn. Do you know, I think that we've seen enough out of Purdy to know he can do it, but he's obviously not going to be perfect yet. And to me, I think the 49ers got away with one last week, but it's in a positive way, I would say. And it's not just Purdy's performance overall, what Keane has mentioned there. We've seen so many times over the years a low seed, fair enough, they haven't been a 7 seeds because that's only new. But we've seen low seed teams with the type of momentum that the Packers have had, picking up that big win in the first round and then going all the way. The Giants did it twice. They won the Super Bowl. And, you know, it's a common enough thing in the NFL. There's such small margins and momentum is a huge thing. And I do think while it didn't affect Baltimore at all, I think the bye week worked against the 49ers, and that can happen sometimes. You know, they basically had 2 bye weeks. Then, you know, they're coming out against a team who are so hot and have so much momentum coming into it. I just think it just worked against them. And the fact that they came out of the game and won it at all, I would take great solace from, I have to say, if I was a Niners fan. And they're not going to play that badly again this week. And I think that applies to Purdy as well. You know, he wasn't the only underperformer last week. I think sometimes we're just a little bit too... I just think his draft position is working against him so much in the analysis of him.
It's definitely a factor.
That slow start... Sorry,
go on.
That slow start was definitely a big thing. And I do think the bye obviously didn't have the impact they wanted it to have. Purdy should have been intercepted on his very first throw, and it had nothing to do with the weather because it was a coverage misread. He threw the ball straight to a safety who broke on a slant route. And while it wasn't a dead set pick six, the way some people were saying, there was the opportunity to run that back deep in 49ers territory, and it would have changed obviously the rest of the way the game went. He was very poor for different stretches in the game, but then he was also quite good for different stretches in the game. And the only kind of reason you're not getting a massive pile on this week is he also proved everyone right and wrong in the same game, because he played terribly for 3 quarters, and then in the 4th quarter he was phenomenal. Like, he did exactly what everyone said he can't do. He carried the offense on the field to score.
The long field goal at the end of the first half just squeaks over the crossbar, and Purdy actually is like crawling on his hands and knees and makes an extra 2 yards to get the ball in like the 3rd down, that they're like, okay, we're not going to make it. And it actually, in a way, that I'm going to remember that from it's like he fought and clawed his way, and the kicker is potentially dodgy. We don't know. He could be amazing. There's been excuses for every miss he's had and reasons behind everything that has gone pear-shaped.
Obsessed.
But he really needed it, you know? Like, he really needed that extra yard, and Purdy got the yard. And then in the second half, and the 4th quarter, some of the throws are slightly off, but they're also kind of perfect in a way. There's the 3rd down to Ayuk, where Ayuk hasn't had a good game. Maybe because Purdy hasn't had a good game. But for whatever reason, they managed to connect there. So we'll see. The big thing is they haven't won a game without Debo this year. And it's 50-50 whether or not he's going to play. And if he plays, it's 50-50 if he's going to be useful.